Hello people, welcome to Prep Elevate. Today we'll discuss CAT 23 Slot 2 PARASUMMARY questions. Rules remain the same. We'll first take a look at the passage, see if it seems familiar, what kind of language is used, should we attempt it under exam conditions. Then we'll look at the answer choices, see how we eliminate choices and come up with the best answer. Alright, so let us proceed. We have the first passage on the screen. I will request all of you to try the passage on your own, come up with an answer, and then come back and tally it with the explanation or the logic I explain. Before I even look at the passage and read it in depth, I am just going to scan the passage just to have an understanding of what I am getting into. I look at words here and see if I can find some familiar words so that I know I am on the right track. First word I see is heat waves, pretty familiar. Then I'm looking at words like intense, climate change, older people. Now remember, this is a very random process. I am not doing it as per any structure. When you scan the passage, you might come up with absolutely different words, which is absolutely fine as long as you are able to make sense of the passage. Somewhere in between, at risk, then we have words here, extreme heat. Somewhere here again, extreme heat. This rings a bell. This tells me that probably, two words are repeated. Probably we are talking about heat here, right? Then last line, we have news media, we have infrastructure and society. More or less, the words seem familiar. These words we come across in our daily lives as well. So probably this is something that I would like to attempt. Now, just I'm scanning the options also together. What I see is options are shorter in length. There is not a lot of information that I have to process. So that's a good sign for me. I look at options which are, shorter in length. The only loophole could be whenever we have such brief options, sometimes they are very confusing to eliminate. That is something that we need to look into. More or less, this is something that I would like to attempt. Heat waves are becoming longer, frequent, and intense due to climate change. Impacts of extreme heat are unevenly experienced. The moment I look at words like unevenly experienced, I know that some categories are coming up. I may read it in depth if I have time, or I might just like skim through it. I'll come back and verify if I get an option which talks about the specific sections of society in detail. So you have young children, you have older people, pre-existing medical conditions, low income. So probably these are the categories we are talking about. Adaptation to heat waves is a significant public policy concern. Research conducted among at-risk people in the UK reveals that even vulnerable people do not perceive themselves as at risk of extreme heat. Now, this is something where the passage takes a turn. The beginning was pretty generic. We are talking about heat waves, how they have become more intense because of climate change. Then we were talking about who are those sections of society who are most vulnerable to the ill effects of heat wave. And then we are talking about how people who are actually at risk do not feel like they are at risk, right? So this is where the story takes a turn. So therefore, early warnings of extreme heat wave do not perform as intended. That means even if we warn people that we have a heat wave which is around the corner, if you are amongst the vulnerable sections of society also, but you do not feel that you are at risk, you are less likely to take any precautions. So that means the way this information is processed, that is very different. That the target audience is not being fed with information in a way, or rather they are not responding in a way that they should, because they do not perceive that they are at risk. This suggests that understanding how extreme heat wave is narrated is very important. This is what we just discussed. Last line talks about news media playing a central role. So that means news media, they play a very critical role in the process, and they can help warn people about the potential danger as well as about impacts on infrastructure and society. So last line, we're talking about how news media can play a very crucial role in the process. They can inform people about the danger, and they can inform about what impacts heat wave is going to have on infrastructure and society. More or less, introduction, heat waves, people who are at risk, people who are at risk but don't perceive themselves to be at risk. Hence, information, even if it is relayed is not perceived in a way that it should, and then it ends with news media playing a central role. More or less, I'm going to look at a summary which covers, uh, points which we have just discussed. Option A, protection from heat waves is important, but current reports and public policies seem ineffective. Ineffective is a very strong word. That means it has no effect. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about maybe the extent of effect is not what we want it to be, but to call it absolutely ineffective is an extreme take, and hence I am not going to go ahead with this option. Heat waves pose an enormous risk, definitely. Media plays a pivotal role in alerting people to this danger. Yes, so these are the two subtopics that we discussed. Heat waves are posing an enormous risk, and then we have media houses playing a pivotal role. Pivotal is another word for central or crucial or critical. This looks like a good choice. I'll put it on hold, compare it with the other choices at hand. Option C, people are vulnerable to heat waves caused due to climate change. Again, measures taken are ineffective. I can't say that straight away, that measures taken are absolutely ineffective. Okay. Now, option D, news stories help in warning people about heat waves, definitely, but they have to become more effective. Yes, I agree with this option. They are not absolutely ineffective. There is a scope for improvement about how news about heat wave is relayed. But then option D misses a crucial point, which is about the heat waves posing an enormous risk which is present in B. So D, a part of it is true, but then when I have to compare and come up with the best choice, something that captures the essence of the passage as a whole, I would like to go with B and not with D. C, we could, we already eliminated. So A, C and D stand eliminated in the process. B is the right choice. So remember, whenever you have to summarize the essence of the passage, it should contain even if a little bit of information, but then it should touch on the important aspects of the passage. There are options which just capture one of the sub topics or one of the important themes, they miss out on the others, so those options stand rejected. So this is how we've come to the correct answer choice. I hope you've understood this question, and congratulations to people who got it correct when they tried it on their own. For people who did not, I hope you understood the logic with this question. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so this was another passage which appeared in the same slot. So you had two para-summary questions. So this is the next question. Again, I'm just randomly going to pick up words from the passage, all right? Spontaneously, counterfactual, see, spontaneously, counterfactual. Okay, the moment I look at this word, I may not know the meaning of this word. Probably I'm hearing it for the first time. I don't know what counterfactual means. Now, decision making time. Should I go ahead with this passage? Should I drop this passage? Remember, don't drop passages for one word alone. Even if that is the keyword of the passage, you might have sufficient information in the passage alone to proceed with it. Okay? Don't drop passages just because of single keywords. Try to play around with the periphery of the passage. You might come up with something which is, attempt worthy. So I am pending my decision here, right? I am not taking a decision right away. Reality, if only, what if. So anything that is in quotes, that is where our eyes tend to go first. So probably when I'm, scanning the passage, skimming through the passage, I'm going to take a look at those words definitely. Past could have been different. Again, counterfactual. So seems like, this passage deals with this word. Past, future, relations. Somewhere here, I have found words like, okay, childhood, reasoning, belief, false belief. Okay, now very honestly, if I have to give an opinion, under exam conditions, this may not be one of the passages that I would be very inclined to attempt, especially when compared to the passage that we discussed just prior to this. This seems like slightly heavy, tends towards, a little bit of psychology, probably because we are talking about childhood, we are talking about false beliefs. Passages of this sort tend to be a little cumbersome or dense in their understanding and words. but I'll still explain the logic behind it. So I will definitely categorize this as a difficult question, and if you're really excellent with language, probably a medium level question for you. So what are we talking about? People spontaneously create counterfactual alternatives to reality when they think if only and what if, and imagine how the past could have been different. Now, counterfactual, okay? Anything that is contrary to the fact. Fact is something that stays, that is reality. Anything that is contrary to that is counterfactual. So the words here, right? If only, what if. So something that has happened in the past, but you tend to, think about what if this happened like this, what the situation could have been. So something of this sort, right? Contrary to actual reality or facts. Mind computes counterfactuals for many reasons. So why do we create such stories in our head? There's a reason, right? We want our past to be different. Probably we want our futures to be different as well. So that is why we create these stories. Counterfactuals explain the past and prepare for the future. So it's a link. It's a link between past and future. So these questions help us connect. So these are bridge. The counterfactuals are basically bridges. So if only, what if this were like this? If only I had done this way, something of this sort, right? They implicate various relations, including causal ones. Causal is, cause and effect, and they affect intentions and decisions. So they do have an effect on intentions and decisions. Very specific, two very specific words which are given. They modulate emotions such as regret and relief. Regret is a very strong emotion. Again, it is very related to what if things were different and what if I had done it this way. So regret is usually, a byproduct of all such thought processes. And they support moral judgments such as blame. The ability to create counterfactual develops through childhood. All right. So now we are talking about how this process actually develops. It develops through childhood, and it contributes to reasoning about other people's beliefs, including their false beliefs. So this has an impact on the way how we reason out other people's beliefs, or how we perceive their beliefs to be, and also how we perceive their false beliefs to be. Now definitely, this is slightly dense, heavier with language is what I would say. Let me look at the options and see if I can make sense. Option A: people create counterfactual alternatives to reality for various reasons, including reasoning about other people's beliefs. The problem here is create. The first line says that people spontaneously create. This spontaneous word is very important here. This is something where, you don't create it on intention. If you don't mention spontaneously, it seems like people do it on intention. No, they spontaneously create those beliefs. So that is why I'm eliminating answer choice A. Option B: counterfactual thinking helps to reverse past and future actions and reason out false beliefs. False beliefs, reasoning out false beliefs is, partly correct, but they don't help to reverse past and future actions. This is a strong word. It's not mentioned that they reverse. They explain the past, they don't reverse the past. All right. Option C: counterfactual alternatives to reality are created for a variety of reasons and is part of one's developmental process. Now, here we are touching upon two things which were mentioned in the passage, that they are created for a variety of reasons and it is a part of one's developmental process. Out of all the options that I have gone through, this seems like an option which captures the essence of the passage better. Okay, I'll still go through D and then, come back to C. Counterfactuals help people to prepare for the future by understanding intentions and making decisions. One part of the process, but C still looks like a better choice comparatively. Why? Because we are also talking about this last line where, counterfactual develops through childhood. So C seems to capture the essence of the passage better. I am going to reject D here. So the correct option is counterfactual alternatives to reality are created for a variety of reasons and is part of one's developmental process. All right. So C is the correct answer choice. I will definitely repeat, this may not be a question that you would like to attempt under exam conditions. Be very careful of such questions. They tend to take a lot of time, and the options are also not very easy to eliminate. You might get confused with the answer choices. Just for the purpose of understanding, so C is the correct answer. So that's all for today's video. We'll come back with more videos in the future. Thank you so much.